Hey, how's it going, y'all? The other day I was having some shower thoughts, and one thing that's been stuck in my mind is the fact that we are so lucky to be alive right now. There's so many worse things that could be happening if you really think about it. That's why I want to answer the question, how lucky are we to be alive right now, and how come we don't realize this phenomenon? To start off, let's think about what life could have been. There's always a chance of being born somewhere like North Korea, the middle of a war zone, or even worse, Detroit. Now, I know these places already sound bad enough, but just to give you the idea, let's take North Korea for example. The amount of poverty and starvation that goes on in that country is insane. I seen an interview of this girl that escaped North Korea that was asked, what's the typical diet over there? Bro, she said they eat leaves of trees and grasshoppers and other bugs. Tell me right now, how much money would someone have to pay you to eat a grasshopper? Not to make fun of them, but imagine the state you'd have to be in for you to take a look at some bugs and go, damn, those insects are looking mad delicious right now. I know this video is about how lucky we are to be alive, but come on, man, are you really living if the only food you can eat is whatever's crawling around outside? On top of that, the amount of freedom those people have, or should I say don't have, is just diabolical. Like, freedom of speech over there is just not a thing. Over here, you're able to talk openly against the government, unless of course you criticize Israel. And even then, the most you'll get charged with is hate speech for like up to 2 years. With again, free food and a place to stay. You know North Korea is having it bad when I literally gotta compare it with prison. And what do you think the punishment for even regular speech is, let alone hate speech? If you say something the government disagrees with, which let's be honest, most likely anything you say over there will get you punished, you can be executed or 3 generations of your family get sent to prison. Oh, sorry, prison camps, I mean. This alone should give you an idea of how lucky you are right now. But I won't stop there. Think about the generation we've been born in, because I've had this thought in the back of my mind as well. How would it be if I was born in the past? It seems great, right? No phones to distract us, living in nature, everything is much simpler. But that doesn't always mean better. By the way, I'm talking about like way back when, during like cowboy times, or even before that. If you've ever played Red Dead Redemption, then you know what I mean. But the amount of diseases, lack of safety, and lack of healthcare in general, you catch the cold over there and the only solution they'll have is like, yo, eat this unsanitary herb I found growing in a swamp. Or better yet, attach some leeches to yourself because that's what they thought would cure your sickness. Forget about Tylenol. If you catch the cold back in the day, you really have a 50% chance of life or death, which I'm not liking the odds there. Sometimes when I get sick with like a sore throat or a cough, I head to the local pharmacy and I'm able to just buy medicine that has the label that describes exactly what I'm going through. There's just so many things we take for granted. Here's another huge thing that I don't think many of us realize is soap. How the hell did people live without it back in the day? I mean, I guess some people are still living without it, considering I'll walk by someone in public. You can just tell their body hasn't touched a drop of soap in ages. Anyways, recently I went to a barbecue with my family, and while we were preparing the chicken kebabs, I couldn't help but notice that the amount of salmonella that must have been all over my hands. All that we had over there was water to wash our hands. Like, how am I supposed to eat my food with deadly bacteria? Of course I could just go home and wash it with soap. But that's when it hit me. How did they even manage to do that back in the day? Now, fair enough, maybe you could manage without using soap for handling stuff like that. But what if you get a cut or a scrape on your hand? For those of you that trained MMA or wrestling, then you know how bad it is when you get an infection. Thank God I wasn't born back in the 13th century. Almost everyone back in those times were always active, spending time outside where you were bound to get a scratch here and there. Now you couple that with how unhygienic people must have been back then, and it sounds like an infection waiting to happen. I'm sure you get the gist of it, you're essentially cooked. Same goes for breaking a bone. God forbid that ever happens, but again, you're cooked. That's when you start to realize how much blessings we really have right now. And besides all of that, if you're born in a third world country like Detroit, or you're a 13th century peasant, just when you think it can't get any worse, what if you were born as a blade of grass? Now hear me out, I know I sound like someone who just smoked an entire bag of weed. I swear I don't smoke. Don't you ever walk outside and pay attention to your surroundings? Because I remember looking at the grass and wondering, what would it be like just to stand out there for months on end, doing nothing? The only movement you get is from the wind. It must be absolutely awful to live your entire existence as something so mundane. Or worse, imagine being born as a rock, or a damn mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Do I really have to say more? Already that should tell you enough about how lucky we are. There's so many worse things that could be going on for us, but it still doesn't answer why we're never thankful or ever think about all these things. I think there's a very simple answer for that, and it's comparing our lives to the lives of others on the internet. And I know you probably heard this one so many times said by so many people, but either way, you and me still continue to do it. Even though we know people tend to only post the best part of their lives on social media, I still decide not to delete those apps. And I genuinely think this is a huge reason as to why we feel sad or unlucky. When in reality, everyone is going through something. Everyone has issues just like us. Like if you look at streamers like Kai Cenat, he always seems to have everything going for him. He's a successful streamer with access to pretty much anything that we could want. Yet even he feels there's something missing in his life. That's because humans are programmed to always want more, that nothing is ever enough. All that money and fame will never fill that bottomless pit of desire we have. Now, I'm not here to coerce you into believing in a religion or ideology, but one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done is having hope in God and living my life accordingly. Doing nice things for people, donating to the poor, simply keeping a strong connection with God, although it may not be easy, are things that make you intrinsically happy. Again, to answer the question as to why we don't realize how lucky we are, I think it really has to do with all the negative things that surround us in life. This being the content we watch, the people around us, and all the things that influence us into being ungrateful and distracts us from what we already have as opposed to all the wealth and material things that we could have. Sometimes it's good to take a step back and think about how much worse it could be. And by all means, I'm not saying you shouldn't be ambitious and strive for more, but there's a difference between trying to achieve something versus getting depressed over the fact you don't have wads of cash that you can flex on the haters with. One more huge thing I wanted to end off with was, this had to do with the whole haters thing. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. If you're going to do something, forget the whole I'm going to exact my revenge on the people that doubted me thing. Personally, I think it's best to be indifferent to other people's opinions, which is easier said than done, but the more you do this, the more you're able to do what you actually love. Stop worrying about how people will react, because people can genuinely sense that type of energy. This is what true aura is. That's when you can start trend setting and be a leader, because people will naturally gravitate towards your not caring ability and be like, oh my god, he's so nonchalant. With all that being said, guys, I feel like this video went a little off topic, but I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all in the next episode.